Today, I'm going to show you how you can easily increase your sales using the 3R methodology here that helps you find your business's hidden profit that's actually hiding in plain sight. And the best part is, it doesn't require any prior experience. It works for any business type, and you already have the information sitting inside of your business. You just don't know how to use it quite yet. But before we dive in, I want to be clear that this works best for established businesses, meaning ones that have been around for usually 6 months to a year. And ultimately, if that's not you, then this probably isn't a good fit. But I have good news. Click on the link in the description. I'll show you how to start a successful business, or I'll show you how to do sales to get your first paying customer or client. Now, let's go ahead and continue with the process using our retain, recharge, rise method. What it comes down to is every single person that buys something has an interaction at the very beginning, during the actual purchasing process, and ultimately after. Today, this really revolves around after because a lot of businesses, unfortunately, miss the mark when it comes down to this. Think about a lot of the brands that you like to buy from, that you continuously buy from. Ultimately, it's usually not just one thing that you're invested in. Let's say you get really into becoming a gym rat, and all of a sudden you're really into weight loss and going to the gym. Well, you're going to buy maybe a shirt like this. Maybe you're going to buy a yoga mat. Maybe you're going to buy dumbbells. Or maybe it's that new fishing hobby. Or maybe it's a cell phone case and cell phone accessories. The point being that each one of these companies, the very big successful ones, understand the power is not just in finding new people to buy your stuff, but getting the people who have already bought it to keep buying it. Now, this breaks down into three key patterns. Retention, which is basically how long can I keep this person to continue to upkeep this thing. Recharge, meaning do they need a boost to improve the experience, or do they need something that was ultimately going to enhance the experience? Or rise, what is the next thing that they could buy? And we're going to walk through each one of these and how they can apply to your business because realistically, when it comes down to it in the business world, a lot of people are focused on new, more. Existing customers, ultimately, or existing clients, or whatever the terminology you use, are far more likely to buy from you again because they know you, they like you, and they trust you, or at least they know, like, and trust your stuff. Ultimately, to get somebody who has never heard of your stuff and turn them into a buyer is a lot more time, money, and just overall business resources. Hence why it is easier, faster, and simpler to get people who have already bought your stuff to buy more stuff, plain and simple. Now, here's what I want you to do. Step one, if we're going to start with retention, because this is the easiest one, this is right when they start off the actual buying process. I want you to go into wherever you store your client or customer or some list. Maybe you have emails, maybe you have phone numbers, and do this. Number one, get that list up in front. List open and ready. Number two, I want you to think about what's missing from those experiences. And number three, build a micro offer. What this basically means is we're going to start here. If you have a CRM, if you have an email list, if you just have phone numbers in your contacts on your smartphone, you need to go through each one of those and compile them. First, open that list and make it ready to comb through. If you haven't already organized it, you're going to need to do that regardless. Second, think about the thing that you really wanted each one of these people or this business or whoever you're selling to buy. What is missing from the next component? What is that extra piece? What are they dealing with right now? And it's going to be one of these categories, meaning when you left or when your product was depleted or when your service left their scope, are they still keeping the same level of quality upkeep? That retention needs to stay there. Number two, does it need a boost? Are we now ready to upgrade something so it's slightly more powerful, or are we ready to take things more off their plate? Are we ready to provide more value, giving them more incentive to not just take the status quo, but to maybe move on to a slightly better version? Or if your thing ultimately delivered on what it said, are we ready to move to a bigger and better thing? If they bought version one and they've gone through all these phases, are they ready for version two? So what's missing? And then three, what is a micro offer that we can get to the next stage in this field? Now, the caveat here is this micro offer needs to be positioned relative to where they are in the buyer journey. To be clear, this happens almost always after delivery. This usually happens slightly after. And then this one takes the most time to move towards. So, an example of this might be if you go through your list of past customers, clients, whatever you have, somebody who's bought your thing, right after they buy it, what are they going to miss out on if you or your product or your service leaves the picture? This is where retain comes in. Typically, this happens right after delivery, meaning if you have a product and that product is depleted, how do I get more of that product? And can you incentivize me to retain the status quo? This is something that you would see of like a coffee subscription, or if you have a consumable item, let's say you sell something with filters in it, just keep selling the filters, something that gets depleted. If this is a service, will they be able to maintain the existing level of quality or the existing outcome or the value of what you provided initially if your service leaves the picture? So this is something like typically software subscriptions fall into this category. If you lose that software subscription, hence why whenever you try and unsubscribe from a software subscription, the smart ones give you a big page that says, well, you're going to lose this and that and this and this. Same thing here, same for product or service. This recharge ultimately either needs to grow with the client or the customer, or if they're interested in something that solves more of the issue, this is typically the faster, better, or enhanced version of what you're already offering. It's not quite a version 2 that you can think about. This is version 1.5. And this is basically the better up of the next thing. So again, let's think about it this way. Version 1, what did you initially deliver upon? Version 1.5, what's the slightly better version of this thing that I could do, or what's a boost that I could do to make this thing even better? And version 2. So once you have that, now you're starting to formulate your micro offers. Let's break down how this might look. So if you have a product, this could be, let me write that out a little better. If you have a product, here's what you want to ask yourself for each one of these. Or if you have a service, what if it's gone? Or what if it runs out? And the most basic way to think about this is your goal at this stage, right after the first sale, usually within the first, could be minutes, could be hours, could be a week, but anything past that's typically a fall off point. What can you do to retain that person? What can I get you to do to keep subscribing to Netflix, to keep staying on this? Now that you've lost the weight, what can you do? What are you going to charge me to keep that weight off? Now that my software subscription is in there, what leverage do you have that now if I unsubscribe from it, it's gone? The service is a prime example. If you don't have this, then ultimately you will lose XYZ. So the easiest way to think about this is either number one, add a reason to stay with you. Number two, keep value anchored. Or number three, paint FOMO. And the easiest, I'm going to explain each one of these two because this might be a little confusing. If ultimately you're going to retain me, I need a reason to stay with you. So first of all, you need to say this is what you're getting. So this is the good. This is your micro offer. Or I should say, if you really want to think about this an even easier way, you could probably say that this would probably be how, or your micro offer. And then this, your keep value anchored. So add a reason. So if you lose this thing, if this product is depleted, or if I leave this service picture, if my service leaves the picture, What am I getting as a result of you sticking? And what am I getting right now as that outcome in their language, which is the value? So these are the features you're providing. This is what value they get out of it. And this is ultimately the loss. And this is your micro offer. So let me break these down because I know this is going to be confusing. Let's say I bought your thing and now I want to leave. Well, here's the reason that you're sticking around. You're going to get feature ABC. This is why that matters to you. So ABC provides these outcomes for your person, for your business, for your thing. And if you leave, unfortunately, you're going to lose all of these things, which as a result of losing those, this is what will happen. And here is how you can retain that. If you do not paint this picture during the sales cycle, then unfortunately what ends up happening is they'll go somewhere else. So realistically, all you're doing at this stage, right after delivery, is saying, hey, do you like the way this is operating currently? Do you like the way this product makes you feel? Do you like the way the service has changed your life? If you would like to continue this, here's the reason that I would encourage you to stay. Here is what you're getting as a result of us staying. Here is what will happen if we don't stay. And ultimately, here is how you can continue to keep this feeling or this experience going. This is how these big tech companies are able to keep people spending for years. Because as much as we would like to tell ourselves, I don't need another subscription, well, if you don't have that subscription, this is what you're missing out on. Hence why every time you unsubscribe from one of those software tools, they rattle off all the things you're going to lose. And you need to be exemplifying the same thing. Because a lot of businesses, if they do stop here, then what happens is you spend more time, you spend more money, and you deplete more resources trying to get more people to buy your stuff, trying to spend so much more convincing them that your stuff is worth buying, and ultimately having to do the same onboarding procedure. Now, I recommend at this stage, if you can explore it as well, the best is some form of reoccurring retainer. If that's not possible, then at least have some sort of flat yearly service rate or a cancellation fee or something to keep that person in your pipeline. So to recap, retain. Your goal at this stage in version 1, right after you've delivered it, is to keep version 1. Nothing lasts forever. So if you're going to leave the picture, meaning your product is depleted, you've run out of something physical, or you are out of the picture, you're no longer servicing this thing, maintaining it, modifying it, optimizing it, paint a picture of what happens, what you're doing, why it matters, what happens if you leave, and open up a door, at least to have some micro offer to continue this thing. You would be surprised at how many people would just be willing to say yes because they don't want to deal with it. They know you're the expert and they'd rather you just get the same consistent result instead of having them take all of this and putting more time and more money and more effort on their plate. So, recharge. This is something that happens a lot of the times, usually more with service businesses. But again, these are things that you're looking for that are more complementary or basically enhancing the overall experience. So, a product in this case is what else could make this better? Could make it better. And then for a service, pretty much the same thing, but you can think about it as what more would give this value. And when I say value, I mean if they're willing, how do they feel when you're trying to sell them this thing? The value is ultimately what they want. If your service provides more value, meaning it makes them feel better, it gets them better results, it's easier, it's faster. Realistically, the easiest way to think about this, if you don't want to use one of these terms, is easier, faster, better. One of these things needs to come into play. Is it easier? Is it faster? Or is it better than what I was dealing with before in my retention? So if I have a product, let's say I sell like a cup of coffee, for instance, or if I have a service and let's say I'm offering something in a certain type of range and it's basically getting the outcome, what would make that easier, faster, better? Remember this phrase. If there is some other version, if there's a premium version of it, we're here. So this is usually slightly after the initial sales touch point. This is usually after they bought it. In some cases, you can position this during the early sale, but at this point, we're realistically looking for customers who, again, we have our list of customers, what's missing or what could be easier, better, faster, or better, what micro offer could get them to the next stage. Drop that marker there. But, anyways, what we want to understand is what's missing, why does it matter, and what can solve it. And I'm giving you these questions to help you kind of do some soul searching, because at the end of the day, it's going to be slightly different for your customer base and your targets and the way they respond to it. But realistically, you pretty much need to ask yourself one of these three things. So let's say I sell coffee beans. Well, what's missing from that equation? Do I have a grinder? Do I have a French press? Do I have, let's say I buy tea. Do I have a strainer? Do I have a teapot? Let's say I have a product in here that I'm offering right now. I want to sell you the iPhone. What could enhance this thing? Well, you're going to drop it. So, would you like to buy my $50 case from the Apple store? Would you like to buy iCloud? Would you like to buy Apple Care? Would you like to buy all of the other things that Apple does that get you to buy from them because they're a $1 trillion company, or as a result, I should say? Service. What more would give this value? That means that right now, if they're in this land and they're like, gosh, I really wish I didn't have to deal with other things, you might have a version of this that is slightly enhanced or better, easier, faster, better. So ask yourself, what's missing from this product that could or service that could ultimately complement it? Why does it matter? If they don't have that thing in your product or service, what are they experiencing right now that's annoying or they don't like or it's just a waste of their time or it's costing them money? What can solve it? So right now, if this is your, let's say you're a service and you're doing marketing, this is your small package that you're just maintaining, you're optimizing ads over time, you're looking at the sales funnel, you're doing all that, then you might have a version of this where it's like, hey, why don't we open the door to more ad spend, enhancing this? We'll take this off your plate because right now you're still dealing with all these other things. If this is your product and you're trying to look at it from a more objective lens, at some point you're going to have to add other things inside of the mix to recharge, enhance the experience. You would be surprised how often you do this as well. Think about something that you have right now and you'd love to buy the newest, biggest, latest version of it, but then all of a sudden you buy just one accessory from it and it breathes new life into it. That's exactly what you want to do right here. You want people to not just retain the status quo, but you want them to buy another thing that will complement this. Hence why these are intertwined just as the top ones are. And again, this will go to V2. Now to recap, recharge is usually slightly after the sales cycle, usually after some time has passed, and they just really want to enhance the experience. What else can I make it better? What other products can make this product better? Or sometimes even services, if there's a service that can make your product better. For instance, you sell a TV, you might sell a TV installation service. You sell a tech gizmo, you might want to offer some support for that. If you offer a SaaS product, then offer a gold lane that charges, I don't know, 500 an hour for people to get on board with the development team and talk them through how to operate it. You'd be surprised at what people would pay to just solve the problem. Service. What more would give this value? What are you missing out on right now in your service set that ultimately could enhance the overall experience? And if all of that fails, if it's still too confusing, what makes it easier? What makes it faster? Or what makes it better? Or what does all three at the same time? Ask yourself, what's missing from this current equation? Why does it matter? What can solve it? Now, remember we have all of our list of all these customers and clients, and this is the biggest one right here that so many people miss out on. Rise. And this is your classic upsell. If you come into the store and I want you to buy something, a physical product in hand, you're probably either one of three things. You're a customer who is educated enough to understand exactly what they're looking for, and realistically, We just need to know if we have it in stock so we can sell it to you. The second is they don't really know what they're looking for, but they have an idea of the category, meaning they're probably looking at some brands because they know it might solve their problem. They're just not really sure which specific one, or ultimately they have no idea what they're looking for. They have an emotional problem. This is where Rise usually comes into play because the most amount of time has passed between buying the initial thing and maintaining the initial thing or breathing new life into it until ultimately all you're doing is making a better one. So, if this is a product, or I should say, let's see real quick, product, simple, what's version 2? Or if it's a service, what's the next package? And the easiest reason, or I guess the easiest way to think about this more accurately, is that at some point, people will no longer be content with the base tier model. It happens in cars, it happens in phones, it happens in services. There's always a better version. If you're not offering that, then realistically, what ends up happening when I have this conversation with business owners is they say, well, it's not worth my time, and I'm the owner, and we don't really do that. I'm willing to bet that if somebody paid you $100,000 right now to fly out to their house to do personal training, you would strongly consider that weak. Yet all you need to do is to figure out this. What is the maximum amount of value relative to your, or I guess, how can we increase the value while also doing basically maintaining our cost. So, if you want to think about this, and a lot of companies do this, in some ways they call it planned obsolescence, which is why they don't build the perfect phone or the perfect light bulb or the perfect car. There's always something that's the next thing. Right now, what you're looking for is the most sufficient cost for you to supply this, either your labor or your fixed cost of your actual hardware or whatever it is to build that product that provides the most amount of value. If this is confusing, the easiest way to think about it is if somebody were to buy the next step up, you don't want to just jump into the deep end of the pool and say, like, hey, here's my $10 version. And oh, by the way, you can also get my gold plated, diamond encrusted $1 million version. You want to kind of start to compartmentalize each one of these. So version 2 is not the last version you're ever going to make. Now let's reiterate why this is so important. If somebody is going to basically buy your stuff, there's usually, again, two, three things, or these three things apply here. So better, easier, faster, all get lumped into not just your boost, but now you want to chain these together to do at least ideally one of or two of three of these things. So it can be easier and faster, it can be better and faster, it can be oh, I wrote faster twice. This should be easier, easier. So realistically, the trifecta of this would be, unfortunately, it would be good and fast and cheap if you've ever heard that type of thing. But unfortunately, we can't do that. The newest iPhone is always more expensive than the last iPhone. It just happens to be faster and better, but it is typically not easier to purchase. We can look for something that is going to be the next step up that is easier and better, easier and faster, better and faster. But at some point, something's got to give. So if you have your service package, if you were to say, all right, what's something that they could typically do that they would be willing to pay more for? So number one, what would they pay more for? And they meaning your customer or client. What would they pay more for? Or at least pay again for? More or again? Because they have to see it in their mind's eye. They're not just, if you just call them up and say, hey, do you want to buy more of the same thing? there's usually a chance that they're just stuck here in retention land where realistically they just keep buying it again. So you want to get them to see the next step in this process. So what would they pay more and again for? And ultimately, this is going to be the biggest one. What did they not like about the last one? Or what did they wish was better, faster, easier, was better, easier, faster, and this is the biggest. This is the number one thing you need to think about. What is the next problem? Because let's face it, all of these things boil down to this one single question. What's the next problem? And this is really where you can position your V2 more efficiently. Because at the end of the day, if I've already gotten you to stay on there, well, now you have new problems because eventually this will no longer, maybe the materials go up, the pricing goes up, the service is not as valuable anymore, something replaces it, AI replaces it, something happens at some point where retention just no longer works. Business is dynamic, you have to keep evolving. Recharge no longer works because now you're just basically trying to re-spark and reinvigorate what did work before, or at least get to a higher version of that, or a better, again, easier, faster, better version of that thing. Eventually you will probably have to get version 2. If we want to use our iPhone analogy, this is iCloud. You stay there because you got the cheap storage, so you need to keep paying for iCloud. This is the cases, this is the wireless chargers, this is the phone mount. At some point, though, that iPhone runs out of software updates, Apple stops supporting it, the chips degrade, the storage goes bad, you crack the screen. Sounds like you need the next iPhone. And again, what would they pay more for or again for? What would I have to do to get you to buy the next iPhone? What did they wish was better, easier, faster? Well, out of all of those, I can't upgrade every single thing in this iPhone. So I just have to focus on the things that are better, easier, faster. And finally, what is the next problem? Trends change, hence why even the features they're adding now to those iPhones are tuned to solving more adept problems. Now, at a certain point, your product plateaus like the iPhone and the market starts to stagnate. But in this analogy, it's the same thing for your business. If you have already sold me the weight loss program and now I'm keeping off the weight, and now I'm getting to the point where I have a community, so now I have other people who are going through this weight loss journey, and now I'm getting to the point where I can keep off that weight easier and faster. I have one-on-one consulting. This is just maybe your weekly accountability text. This is text with the trainer. And at this point, you know what? I want some six-pack abs. What does that program look like? What do they want to pay more for again? Well, now I want glamour muscles. What did they wish was better, easier, faster? Well, I wish my muscles were more toned. Well, what is the next problem? The next problem is yeah, I lost the weight. I'm not chubby anymore, but I need to know how to now be sculpted. So again, look at your client or customer list, keep it open, go through it one by one and say, man, what did that guy buy? And most importantly, what's the thing that he could have bought that either would kept him on here as a retainer so we could keep maintaining that status quo? If he's like a reoccurring customer, just sell him a subscription. That's the easiest one. Recharge, okay, well, what's a better, more premium version of this? Pick a random thing and just make a special around it. It's summer. Hey, we have our summer enhancement special. I'm a car detailing business. Follow these steps here to get your car ceramically coated so it always looks great when you're driving up and down the roads. Or you know what? Let's move on to rise in our customer list. What's missing? If they solve the first problem, what's the next problem? And what you're looking for is to marry each one of these, because I guarantee you every single customer, client, patient, lead, whatever is sitting in your list of people who have bought your stuff right now, one of these things will get them to buy again. And it will be easier and it will be faster and it will be better to sell those people who have already bought your stuff more things than it will be to acquire a new customer or new buyer or new client. So, if this video was valuable to you, which I hope it was, I would love for you to subscribe. I put out these at least once a week, and go ahead and comment below. Tell me what you're going through with your business or your entrepreneurial journey so I can make content on it and tell you how to solve it. As always, too, make sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of future videos and interact with these because it really does help the algorithm spread this out. And I want more business owners to win. I want them to learn. I want them to know how to either escape their 9 to 5 if they're just starting out or start to thrive to build a successful business business. But that's all I got for you today. Until then, I'll see you next time.